Kal Kadosh, Boker Or. I wanted to share with you an incredible shiur. Listen to this. A question. Right now, I want to do a mitzvah, but I can't do the full mitzvah. I could only do a partial part of the mitzvah. Should I come and even bother or not? That is the question. It's a valid question because sometimes you could say to yourself, listen, if anyway you're not going to fulfill it, so what's the purpose of actually doing it? If you could do the full thing, so I understand. But if you can't, what does it help? But let's start. Let's try to see what is going on exactly. It says in the parasha, we're going to read about something which is called Pesach Sheni. What is Pesach Sheni? It says, "Vayimru anashim ha'ele elav," right? The people come and they tell Moshe Rabbeinu, "Anachnu tmeim lenefesh adam. We are tameh. We're tamemet. Lama nigara levilti akri vekorban Hashem modo." Why are we going to be left out to bring the sacrifice to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? We also want to bring a Korban Pesach. B'toch Bnei Yisrael. Rashi says, "Reuya hayta parasha zo leamer al yedei Moshe kishar kol haTorah kula. Ela shezachu elu shetomar al yedehen shemegalgelin zechut al yedei zakai." Something incredible. Says Rashi, Moshe Rabbeinu had to really come and write down this parasha of Pesach Sheni just like any other part of the Torah. But the fact that they came and they were yearning and they wanted so much to do the mitzvah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wrote this parasha through them, meaning they were the cause of the writing of this parasha. It wasn't just like any other part of the parasha. We're going to talk about tzitzit. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and he tells Moshe Rabbeinu about tzitzit, put on tzitzit, this, no. This is the people that are coming, the dialogue, coming and asking of Moshe Rabbeinu, please, we want to do the Korban Pesach. They got it. Right? Now, the question that we ask is, right, is somebody greater than Moshe Rabbeinu to be Zakai? What does that mean, Megalgelim Zechut al Yedei Zakai? Megalgelim Zechut al Yedei Zakai means that you're a good messenger. So I'm going to give it, I'm going to get the Zechut through your hands. You become the catalyst, the one that comes and brings it upon yourself. What's going on? In the beginning of the parasha, it says, "Vaydaber Hashem Moshe b'Gar Sinai b'shana shel Yitzhak b'Mitzrayim b'chol shel limor." And Rashi there says, parasha in the beginning didn't say, was not said until Rosh Chodesh Iyar. Even though there's no mukdam u'meuchar b'Torah, so why didn't we start with this? He says because of the Genut of Israel. Because for 40 years they were in the desert and they didn't bring the Korban Pesach. This is the only Korban Pesach that they brought for 40 years. Tosfot says, what was the Genut? He says, according to one explanation, he says it was a sakana. They weren't able to do Brit Milah to their children because there was no Ruach Tzefonin or northern wind. And therefore, that's their Genut. But now the question is, one second, if they couldn't do the Brit Milah, you can't do Korban Pesach. It's a catch-22. Meaning, you should have done the Korban Pesach, but you can't do the Korban Pesach if you don't do Brit Milah. Because it says, anybody that's uncircumcised cannot eat it. So therefore, one second, if they couldn't do Brit Milah because it was a sakana, and if they couldn't do it because it was sakana, because there was no northern wind, so then what do you want? That they weren't able to bring the Korban Pesach. So the Rashba comes and he says, what's the problem? Why is it? They said, they didn't know that Tmemet are going to be Asur Bekochim? So what's going on then? So he comes and he says like this. There's a beautiful Rav Moshe Feinstein. And Rav Moshe Feinstein comes and he says that Rashi HaKadosh is explaining the ta'ana of the people that they're Tmemet. And he says, you're right. En kodshim kerevim betumah. Amru lo yizarek adam alav alenu abakoanim teorim. V'yochal basar latmim. He says, you're right. They should bring the korban. Who's going to sprinkle it? The koanim teorim. But who's going to eat it? Even the tmeim. Which means, one second, if it's going to be brought by the tmeim, it's going to be pasul. So even if you're going to tell me that the kavanah was to be mitzaref with teorim, what's going on? They didn't gain anything. So he writes down, says like this, that even though they're not going to be yotzei chovah, nevertheless, they love the mitzvah so much, they wanted to participate in the mitzvah, even though they're not yotzei chovah. Which means that because if they can't do it at all, right? It's like Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, he comes and he separated the 3 cities of refuge outside of Israel. And then Yoshua was going to come inside the land of Israel and also do the parallels. the three inside of Israel. Now, even though the cities of refuge don't take part until when? Until you have all six together, Moshe Rabbeinu still did it. So therefore, he comes and he says, we learn from here that even if it's too difficult to be Mekayem a mitzvah, the fact that you love to do a mitzvah, you have to do as much as you can. So, for example, you're not allowed to eat kazait of maror, right? Why? A person's sick. Somebody comes, tells me, Rabbi, I can't have any wine or grape juice. Why? It's dangerous for me. They have diabetes and they have this and they have that. It's dangerous. So you know what you tell them? Whatever you can. Whatever you can, right? Why? Taste a little bit. And that's with every mitzvah. Somebody that cannot sit in the sukkah, at least do something in the sukkah, right? Do as much as you can, even if you're not going to be in the mitzvah. He says, why? He says, because only in such a case where a person is doing these things, does he actually show his ahavat Hashem. Because if a person's going to come and he's going to say, you know what? No, I'm patur anyway, so I don't need to do anything. That's incorrect. But that shows that he doesn't love the mitzvah. And now he comes and he says, that's the reason why he comes and he says, right, that they made a bracha, shikanes la Torah al maasim tovim. What does that mean? We know that when a person comes and he loves HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he wants to be mekayem all the mitzvot that he can. So he says, Torah, you already have maasim tovim in the Torah. So what does that mean then? So he comes and he says, without the Torah, you're just an amaretz chasid. So why do you have to say both? But he says it's a bracha for ahavat mitzvot, meaning we want that a person should do maasim tovim, right? Even for those that you could be mipater miatin. For example, let's say trumot umasrot, tzitzit, right? All those other things. Why? Because in such a fashion, right, a person will come and he'll be able to be yotzei de chovah, even if he's not yotzei de chovah. He wants to do the mitzvah, right? He wants to do something of a mitzvah. He wants to show that he loves the mitzvah. That, in essence, is what he's supposed to do. So now, according to this, we're going to understand a Rabbi Yonah. And this is how the Drisha is going to explain the Rabbi Yonah. The Rabbi Yonah is one of the Rishonim. And Rabbi Yonah comes and he says that it's written that a person should not say Birkat HaMazon in his heart. Yeah, he shouldn't say Birkat HaMazon in his heart. So he comes and he says, and Mori Arav comes and he says, somebody that's going to be mitchayev in a bracha, and he cannot say it. For example, let's say his hands are not clean, right? Or he's in a place which is not clean. So for example, a person that's a choleh, so you can't even say the words of the tefillah. He should at least think of the words of the tefillah in the bracha in his heart, even though he's not going to be tzedek chovah. Why? Because Hashem yireh lalevav, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give him sachar on the machshava. And that's what it says in the Midrash, Amarai hazina Hashem bina gigi. Says David Elmaleh, Ribono shel Olam, even when I can speak, Amarai hazina. And when I cannot speak, bina hagigi, it should be from my heart. What was he saying? Right? It means something incredible. That he's saying, if I could speak, I'm going to speak it out, but that's what you're obligated to do. But what if I can't speak? He says, you know what, just think about it. You're not Yotzei Chovah. Doesn't matter. Even without being Yotzei Chovah, that's what you're supposed to do. So he says, the Bet Yosef comes and he asks, I don't understand. He says, you should never even think about things in a dirty place. So how are you, meaning, forget about being Yotzei Chovah or not. Even in a dirty place, you're not supposed to think and learning. So you're not supposed to think and learning, what happens? So he says, we're not talking about Yadayim Tunafot or Makom Tunaf Mamash. We're talking about that they're not Naki, right? Or just Stam. So a person's Anus. So because of that, he comes and he says, in order to take it out of your mouth, you have to actually, you're not Anus, you have to clean them. So he says, you're not allowed to take them out, but you could still think about it. So the Drisha says, what do you mean now, Eno Naki? It's not Tinuf. He says, so then you should have permitted it then. Right? Now, meaning like, if you can't do it, so you should have just permitted it because it's what it is. And if you're going to tell me it's not, so then what do you want? So what is it? Why is it mutar to think about it? So he says like this. The kavanah of Rabbi Yonah was that you should be me'arher, you should think about the nusach of the bracha, just like they understood, because that's for sure is going to be asur. But it means the way that you want to do a bracha. Meaning he wants, or you want to say a tefillah, meaning to actually think of the tefillah or to think of the bracha is going to be asur. Because again, even in a place which is dirty, not only can you not say, you can't think about it. But he says, you want to think that I want to do it. I want to say a bracha now. I want to do a tefillah now. That in itself is, and then it's Ke'ilu HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and he says, I'm going to do it, that you did it. And that's what David HaMelech says, Bina Hagigi, which means my machshava is going to make it that I'm yearning, I want to do it. So I'm not allowed to think of the tefillah. I cannot start thinking, Hashem tzvatay tiftach v'yagid. He's a person makom tinofet. He's the dirty place. He can't. But you think that you want to do it. That in itself is that you already did it. You get the reward for doing it. Now, according to this, now we understand another Gemara. Listen to this Gemara. The Gemara Mesechet Avodah Zarah says, in the future, all the Umot HaOlam are going to say, listen, Hagaribono Shel Olam, you should have given it to us from the beginning. We would have done it. We also wanted to fulfill the Torah. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and he says, Shotim Sheba Olam, how do you guys want to fulfill and get Olam Haba? Mishetarach b'Shabbat, right? Be'erev Shabbat, Yuchal b'Shabbat. If you worked Erev Shabbat, you have to what to eat on Shabbat. You didn't prepare nothing. What do you want? So he says, you know what? I'm still going to give you a mitzvah kala. What is a mitzvah kala? I'm going to give you sukkah. Go and do the mitzvah. Right? Fine. Why is it called mitzvah kala? You don't lose a lot of money for it. So immediately everyone, they come, they do a sukkah. Comes HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he takes out the sun. He makes it very, very hot. And what happens? Everyone, they come out of the sukkah and they start kicking the sukkah and they leave. So he says, 1 second, right? I don't understand. We also would have done the same thing. Saying if it's going to be too hot, that ad kedekach, that you're suffering and this and that, maybe we would have also left the sukkah. What's going on? So he says, so therefore, what's going on? So he says like this, why is it Be'emet HaKadosh Baruch Hu Dafka gave them sukkah? Because there's a din of mitztaer is patur. That's usually you don't have that concept. Meaning a person is not, it's not that mitztaer is patur. Sometimes you have force majeure. You can do a mitzvah, fine. But it's not that you're patur from the, here it's like a person is mitztaer, he's suffering, he becomes exempt from the sukkah. Usually it only applies by sukkah. Very rarely do you find that by any mitzvot. So he says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew that he's going to give them a mitzvah kala that they could have fulfilled. Right? This is mitzvah kala. But he wanted to show their love. Now, how does he show their love? He gave them mitzvah sukkah, which there's a halacha. You could be mitzvah, you're going to be patur. And he took out the sun. The second he takes out the sun, they're going to be patur from the mitzvah. But he wants to see, do they really love it or not? So immediately HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and he starts laughing. Why? Klal Yisrael, you see that they love the mitzvot. They want to be there. And they're suffering that they cannot be in the sukkah. Ad kedekach, right, that there was once a person that he was in the sukkah when it was raining. Now it says, if somebody's patur me'adavar v'oseu nikra idiot, he went and he said, I prefer to be a idiot, but I just love the mitzvah too much. It doesn't matter. Meaning for him, he just wanted to love the mitzvot. He didn't care whether it was patur or not patur. For him, there's just to love them in mitzvah. So he says, by the umot ha'olam, they don't have avata mitzvot. So therefore for them, they only just did it just because they wanted to receive the reward. So that's why for them, they just left and they kicked. They didn't care about it. So therefore, right, each thing is going to always yearn to go to it. So he comes and he says like this, right? Rabbi Cheskel Levenstein comes and he says, what is the explanation when we say v'chaye olam nata betochenu? Chaye olam nata betochenu means that your person has chaye olam, the life of the world is going to be inside of us. So he says like this, he says, what does that mean? He says, Kol davar sho'ef el shorsho, meaning every single thing in this world, it's going to yearn to go back to its roots. Yeah, everything. Right? And just like it says in the Mishnah, Ezu chacham, halomem mikol adam. Why? Because the mivchan of the chacham is to learn from everybody. So he comes and he says, why? Because if be'emet there's a chokhmah, he's sho'ef to the chokhmah. A chacham is a person that he loves wisdom. So no matter what, you're going to yearn for wisdom from every single human being, from every single thing, from anything that happens, you're going to learn wisdom. But that's what you're aspiring to. That's the word sho'ef. You're aspiring to it. So he comes and he says like this, the ma'alav chaye olam. What does it mean, chaye olam? If the person is zocheh to chaye olam that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put inside of him, he's going to always look for life. What is life? Every mitzvah gives you life. And therefore you're always aspiring to do mitzvot. And you're always looking more. The Saba Mikelem comes and he says, if you want to put a test, litmus test, you want to test a person, if he's going to be zocheh to live in chaye olam, he says, look at his life. If the person is an atzlan, he's lazy, and he's not running after Torah mitzvot, it's a siman, the chaye olam is not inside of him. But if you come and you see that he's always looking for Torah mitzvot, it means that the chaye olam is deep inside. It's inside of him. And therefore he comes and he says, when it said lama nigara, that they came in and said, why are we going to be worse? Why are we being left out? He says, the Chidushei Harim comes and he says, Al Kurchach, you have to say that these Tmim Lenefesh Adam, they didn't ask lama nigara. They were screaming, Lama nigara. What do you mean, Lama nigara? He says, we know that we are Tmeim, but we want to become close to Hashem. We're yearning so much to become close to Hashem until HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and he says, Kvar ketuvah parasha zu lifnei marom. And therefore it says by Benot Tzlovcha Dovrot, here, Yatzat Torah Chadasha. There's something new that came out of it. It's a new Torah. What is a new Torah? Through the ishtokekut, through the fact that you wanted it, I'm going to invent it. I'm going to invent a new mitzvah. What is that inventing of the mitzvah? Pesach Sheni. Meaning by Benot Tzlovchad, the halachot of Yerusha of inheritances were already given. HaKadosh Baruch Hu just had to give it over. So the Benot Tzlovchad were zochot that it came through them. But the halacha already existed. It was already ready to be given. Here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a new halacha. So he comes and he says, and that's the same thing with Ones Rachmana Patre. With this, by the way, right, we also understand what happened with the Gaon Vilna. You know, the Gaon Vilna, he comes and he was looking for an etrog. And remember that in Vilna or all these places in the north, they had very heavy winters and everything. And then afterwards, to find a good etrog was very, very difficult. Nowadays, Baruch Hashem, they bring them, whether it's going to be from, from Teman, from Morocco, from all these places, from Eretz Israel. They have to have also hot climates. They cannot have freezing cold climates. Now, what happens is they're not going to get it. So the Gaon Vidna sent to Shamash and he told them, doesn't matter what the price is, you're going to get me an etrog. So he said, okay, fine. How much? That doesn't matter. Whatever it is, you're going to buy it. Thousands, it doesn't matter what. Imagine you're paying for a lemon, thousands of dollars. The guys are going to look at you as if you're like, I don't know what. You're going to say like, you're going to take out the, those magnifying glass of the the jeweler's things to start looking. What's going on over here? And the truth is, it looks like that. It's so incredible how you come and you see that many times we use the jeweler's, whether it's the microscope or all these different, the lupa and all these things, magnifying glasses and all these types of things to look at an etrog. They're saying, are you crazy? Right? There's lemon rule, right? What do they call lemon rule? You know what a lemon is, right? It could be cut. No, it's better than a diamond. They're going to come, they're going to look at it, all sizes. You come, you think that you're buying jewelry to your wife. That's exactly what's going on. You're looking at it, all sides, making sure it's clean, nice, shape, the form. Wow. It's incredible. Even the color, everything makes a difference. So what happened? The Gaon Vilna comes and he sends a shamash. Shamash goes from one place to another place, to another place, to another place. Finally, the shamash comes to one place, right? And he finds, and a guy's going to give him an etrog. So he says, okay, fine, how much money? You should know the Gaon Vilna is willing to pay any amount of money. He says, I don't want any money. You know what I want? I want the reward for the Gaon Vilna coming and taking the lulav and etrog. So the shamash went and he said, what? He says, it's not for sale. He says, how do you want me to give you that? He says, oh, why would he do it then? It doesn't make sense. Huh? No, this is my only condition. Yeah, no money. He doesn't want a penny. This is what I want. So the shamash, he doesn't know what to do. Should he do it? Not do it? Remember, it's not like nowadays you have a telephone, you pick up a phone and you call. He didn't know what to do, right? So he comes and he said, okay, fine. You know what? I'm going to take it, but I can't guarantee you that he's going to use it. Why? Why in the world is he going to use it if he can't even do it? Yeah. So what happens, right? What happened is that he went, right? And when he went, right, what happened is that he went back to the Gaon Vilna and he told the Gaon Vilna of the condition. Now he thought that the Gaon Vilna was going to go crazy. He thought that the Gaon Vilna was going to come and was going to. He all of a sudden saw that the Gaon Vilna jumped up and he started dancing. And he's thinking, what's going on over here? He says, no, but Gaon, I don't know. Maybe the Rabbi didn't understand me. You don't get the mitzvah at all. It's like, he gets the mitzvah. So now the Gaon Vilna came and he said, he was jumping out of joy because he said, I thought that maybe my entire life I was doing mitzvot. Why? Because maybe to receive the reward. Now I know 100% that when I'm going to come and take this lulav and etrog, I'm only doing it because I love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not because of the reward. And that's why he was so happy, because he realized, right, the greatness, right, of what it is, right, the concept, right, of what it is, right, of what? That when you're doing a mitzvah, you have to realize that there's love of Hashem involved. The mitzvah va'avat Hashem. Because why are you doing the mitzvah? Because Hashem commanded you to do so. Not because the reward. I don't care about the reward. I want to love Hashem, and therefore what I want to see is I want to do His will. Whether I'm going to get rewarded or not getting it, that doesn't matter for me. It doesn't matter as long as His will is going to be done.